So everybody that's on here right now, please make sure you grab a pen and a notepad for notes. There's going to be a lot of great information shared today, so you want to make sure that you have something to take notes. So if you don't have that already, make sure you just grab it before we get started. Good morning, Vince. Thank you for coming. Please just type it to the chat and say hello that you can see and hear us. All right, so good morning again. Hope you all are doing well and your families are all doing well at this time. I am Melissa Miller. I'm the team leader of the Melissa Miller Group here in Weston with eXp Realty. And I thank you so much for attending this morning. I think it's going to be a really great seminar, a chance for you to have your questions asked, answered, and to really take advantage of the experts that are on the panel this morning. So this seminar is really an overview of what's going on in the market and the opportunities that are available in real estate. We put together a great panel of experts, and they are going to share their knowledge and expertise as well as answer your questions. So you will want to actively participate today. Hopefully you all can see where the chat is. There at the bottom, there's a place where you can click on chat and be able to type in your questions. We'll be monitoring that. And any questions that you have in the chat, we will be having a Q&A after each speaker so that they can answer your questions. Now, there was no way that I was going to be able to get all of the information regarding investments in this seminar. So please stay tuned for the next seminar. We have a series, and that's when we're going to be able to delve a little bit further into each one of these topics and be able to answer your questions as well. So if you're on this call this morning, you're curious about investing and the possibility of starting a portfolio and building wealth. So that's why we're so excited about sharing this information with you. And we encourage you to fulfill that goal by calling us on Monday for a personal consultation so that we can put together a plan along with our partners to make sure that you achieve that goal this year. So before we start, I would like to introduce my team that has helped me so well with putting all of this together. So the first we have is Maria Machado. She's our—
Good morning, everybody.
Office manager. And then we have Stephanie, our client coordinator and administrative assistant.
Good morning, everybody.
Yes, we set aside 10 minutes for you, Stephanie, to go ahead and speak.
Well,
Next, we have Brenda Miller, our listing and buyer specialist.
Hi, everyone. Good morning.
Yes, and we also have Nadia Thomas, our buyer specialist, going to be joining us shortly.
I'm here. Good morning.
Good morning, Nadia.
How are you guys?
Good to see you. And then we have, last but not least, is Dwayne Stewart, our buyer specialist.
Hey, everybody. Good morning.
Good morning.
What's up, man?
Up in Central Florida.
Up in Central Florida. So he's handling our Orlando office. And so we cover the Tri-County area, Palm Beach, Broward, and Miami-Dade, as well as Orlando. And we are growing and expanding across the USA. So before Brenda starts us off, we want to make sure that you stick around. We do have some giveaway prizes. I know everyone loves free gifts. So our partners have sponsored some gifts this morning, so we will be giving them away. So make sure your name is in and that you registered in order to win. So welcome, Jody. I see you just came in, and Diane. Thank you all for coming. So I'm going to hand it over to Brenda so that she can give us the overview of the market.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Really good to see some of our longtime investors on the call, some people who have done a lot of good business in South Florida, and then to see some new ones. And so this morning for me, I'm just going to quickly going to the data of what the South Florida market has done over the last few months. And it will be definitely data, not too much analysis, because we've got some great speakers coming up after me who are going to kind of use that data and speak into some other things. So I'm going to share my screen with you quickly. And what I want to show you is just the numbers for Broward, Miami-Dade, and Palm Beach. I'll start with Broward because that's predominantly where a lot of our investor folks are associated. And then I'll quickly jump into a board PowerPoint that they did that kind of gives a little overview of what the South Florida market is doing, and then also give you a sense of what the South Florida market looks like. And then we'll go from there. I won't be very long with you, so I'm going to share my screen with you now and jump into the Broward market quickly. And if you can see this. All right, so I'll start with Broward. And if you can look on your screen, you'll see that in May of 2020, closed sales in Broward, that is the number of properties that sold, was down 51% year over year from the prior year. And that is really because of COVID. When we started back in March, first quarter, the numbers were really kind of pretty good numbers. And then March, April, May took a dip. Numbers for June have not fully come out yet. They've not been analyzed, but we have seen really a rebound in June. But the last full slate of numbers we had was at the end of May. Of that number of sales, about 17%, almost 18 paid in cash, which is very similar in Broward to what we had last year. And the median sale price in Broward was right at $372,500. That's up about 0.7% over last year. And when you consider that the median price in the entire US is about $260,000, it gives you a sense of what South Florida real estate is doing compared to the rest of the country. I'll jump down a little bit and just also give you all a sense of how long those properties stayed on the market. If you saw median time to contract at the end of May, that was just about a month, which was down about 23% from last year this time. And then a month to contract, and then a little over 2 months to get it closed. What we also saw was a drop in inventory since last year, down about 18%. And that's for single family homes. When we get into townhomes, the numbers are reacted a bit stronger. 58% fewer closed sales than last year this time. And that most of that is attributable to COVID. About 42% of those condo townhome sales were paid in cash, and the median sale price there was about $175,000, which was down about almost 3%. Time to contract, you'll see in Broward for condos, townhomes was a little longer than single family homes. So about a little over a month and a half. And then to sale, you're talking about 3 months was the average there. Median time, sorry, not average. And then I'll quickly jump to Miami-Dade, where we've got some folks on the call from there. Miami-Dade closed sales did not respond as dramatically as Broward. They were down 45% at the end of May. Of those, about 16% paid in cash. And the median sale price in Miami-Dade is a little higher than Broward. That was at $375,000. Time to contract and the time to closing is about the same at Miami-Dade as in Broward. For the townhouses, though, Miami-Dade did respond quite a bit more. 60% drop in the number of closed sales. Of those, 38.5% were cash, down significantly from last year, down about 25%. Median sale price of townhomes and condos in Miami-Dade is definitely almost about $100,000 more than it is in Broward, to give you a sense of that And then Palm Beach. We won't go into Martin and St. Lucie, but I can send you the reports for all of these counties. Just give me a hands up if you want to pull all of those, and I can send you. These are directly from the Miami board. Palm Beach County saw closed sales drop about 47% year over year from last year. Of those, about 31% paid in cash. Median sale price in Miami-Dade, in Palm Beach, pardon, for single-family homes was right at about $365,000. Palm Beach does tend to close a little faster than Miami-Dade and Broward, but just a little. When it came to townhomes and condos, man, almost 60% drop in closed sales in Palm Beach. Median sale price for condos in Palm Beach were $200,000, and the time to contract and the time to close in Palm Beach for those properties were a little longer also. I wanted to share one more screen with you all, and this is a quick Broward Market update, and I'll go pretty quickly through it. We went through these numbers, but at the beginning of March in Broward, man, there was some exceptionally strong sales. You're talking about a change from March of 2019 to March of 2020. Closed sales was down just about 1%. And you can imagine from March to the end of May, we went from a change of 1% to a change of over 50%. So you can see the impact of COVID on sales. What is interesting is, pardon me, what is interesting though is that because of the limited supply that we have in South Florida, there's still strong demand. So Broward sales, luxury sales, pardon me, in March were up 18.3 for luxury sales. Condos, luxury condos, $1 million and above were up 24.2, which is fantastic. Mid-market sales, those in the 400 to 600, were up about a 9.8%. We get to April and the inventory reacted significantly. April numbers were down anywhere from about 36 to 38%. And then the numbers I showed you all for May were down probably about 50. I'll scroll down past this. What does that mean for us right now? You will see at the end of April that the month supply or what's considered how much inventory is in the market and how many months will it take for us to move that inventory. For single family homes right now, it's right at about 4 months. For condos, about 6 months. So that's probably right in the middle there. We can probably say it's a balanced market. By price range, this is the number that's quite interesting, is that if you think about the average home price in Broward being right at about $370, single family homes and condos, the month supply is pretty much zero for anything below about $100,000. Once we get up to 250, 390, 300, 400, we've got about 3 months of supply. And in your higher priced properties, you'll have 6 months, $1 million above, about 16 months. So what we're seeing is pretty much a split market. For your higher priced properties, definitely a buyer's market. For the properties that are, say, below 400, you're going to find that it is a seller's market. And I'll quickly finish up by giving you an overview of where the properties have been moving in Broward first quarter. This is called the Hot Markets Overview. If you're familiar with these cities, Sunrise, Coral Springs, Pembroke Pines, Coconut Creek, Margate, for your single family homes. Of note, you'll notice that most of those are central Broward, other than Pembroke Pines, which is going to be your west Broward. For condos, similarly, Miramar, Plantation, Davie, Coral Springs, Oakland Park, Miramar being your South Broward location, Oakland Park being on the east. One other number that I wanted to mention to you all is that of these sales in Broward and in Miami, distress sales made up a very small number of total sales, which gives a sense that there's a very strong market in Broward. Now, those numbers going forward without any prognosticating, those will probably change significantly based on the impact of COVID and whether or not most folks are able to get back on track with paying those bills. I'll quickly just also mention, Melissa, give me just 2 more minutes. Why is it that we're still seeing strong sales in South Florida? It's really because a lot of people are moving into South Florida. Primary destination for most folks who are moving from the north are to either Jersey or the Miami-Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach area is the second largest moving location. On top of that, we've got a significant number of foreign buyers in the South Florida area. And most of the Florida is #1 for foreign buyers in the entire US. And of those foreign buyers, the majority of them are Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach. Second, Orlando, Kissimmee, Sanford, which is up where Dwayne is. And then we see some in the Tampa, St. Petersburg. So that's going to be the largest foreign buyers moving in. Foreign buyers, residential purchases decreased a little bit coming into this year. But once again, I think a lot of that is based on what was going on around the world. Of all the purchases in the Miami market or in the Miami board, 38% of those, 38% of the dollar volume was to foreign buyers, just to give you a sense of how the South Florida board stacks versus our residential, our local sales versus our foreign sales. And then to get a breakdown, can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. Of the foreign buyers, the destination for foreign buyers for the Miami board area, 77% of those, majority of those are Miami-Dade County. And then you've got Broward and then Palm Beach and some of the other counties. So, and then I've got some more slides here, but I think it's probably going to be a little bit of overkill for data. Hopefully that gives you a sense of where the South Florida market is right now. I wanted to show you all also just the hot areas for the Miami market, and then quickly turn it back to Melissa. So give me one more. All right, so hot markets for Miami-Dade County that we saw were single family homes were Cutler Bay, Miami Gardens, the Hammocks, Princeton, and Kendall.
Brenda?
Yes, ma'am.
It looks like I'm hearing from people that your screen is still showing Palm Beach townhomes. Is that what it's supposed to be doing?
Oh my word, I'm showing, did it not update?
Yeah, it looks like it didn't.
Let me stop share and reshare again, hold on.
Ah, okay.
Is it back?
Yes, it's back.
Oh, I'm sorry about that, guys. So the hot markets overview for Miami-Dade, just based on the numbers from the board, were Cutler Bay, Miami Gardens, the Hammocks, Princeton, Kendall, and for condos, Kendale Lakes, the Hammocks, Kendall, Fontainebleau, and Hialeah. Hopefully that gives you some data. If you want to ask some more, just put them in the comments and I'll respond via email or phone to those, and I'll pull also the Miami reports.
Can you just go back?
Email those out.
Can you just go back to the hot markets in Broward just to show that? That's the one that we missed. And then
Okay.
What we're going to do, everyone, is we're going to send out an email with this data for you so that, because you probably missed a few slides.
I apologize for that, folks. Let me do that.
Showing Miami-Dade. Oh, wait, we missed quite a bit.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it looks like we missed quite a bit.
I was like, oh, I didn't see any of that.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know what happened.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
All right.
All right.
Your narration was good, though. Your narration was good.
Okay, good. So hot markets overview for Broward. This was, these are the numbers. As you can see, the months of supply are not very high anywhere in Broward. Man, they're moving pretty quickly here. All right, any questions on this one?
Maria, do we
So-
have any questions?
Did any questions pop up? You can
No,
see
no
primarily
questions.
they are central Broward properties that are moving quickly.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Brenda. Like I said, we're going to be sending out an email. Just look for an email entitled Market Overview, because there was a lot of great slides on there, and it's important information because if you're looking to invest, there's these areas that are, really hot right now, and you want to put that into consideration when choosing the property that's best for you. So thank you again, Brenda. We appreciate all of the great information. Okay, you still hear me, right? Okay, all right. Thanks, Brenda. So next up, it's my pleasure to introduce Angelo, owner of Bank On It, Celebrity, featured on A&E, DIY, and on Flip Wars, the series. He's an expert in investment strategies, and he will be going over renovations, the costs, and rental income return. So I welcome Angelo, the man, the myth, the legend. I hand it over to you.
Hey, thank you very much. Hey, so listen, all that data is really important. Actually, very impressive that you went through all that. But I will tell you, from when you're on the ground floor here, buying and selling real estate, we see those trends far before anybody else. So, these days when I renovate a property and toss it on the market, it's almost like it should be measured on hours on the market, not days on the market, because these things they fly off the shelf. So that's what we're experiencing right now, is a very obviously in May numbers were down because everyone was hanging out at the house, but now that people are getting out and about, you can't keep a nicely renovated property on the shelf very long. So that's definitely a thing that we've been seeing as well. So listen, my name's Angelo D'Alessandro. I've been doing this real estate investing thing since about 2000. So I've got some time under my belt. I've been through good cycles. I've been through bad cycles. I've gotten my butt kicked, and I've also done very well. So I've been through all of it. So as far as the show, it's fun. It's a different way of seeing a renovation show, and you could watch it right now for free on Amazon Prime, and you'll see that we didn't hide our personalities. So that's that. So let me move on a little bit here. We're going to be talking about me. I have a business partner, Gene. We have an office in Weston. Like I said, we've been doing this a long time. We buy anywhere from 4 to 5 properties a week, sometimes more. We're cash buyers. We don't take commissions on deals. So if you're a realtor and you want to sell me something, just call me up and I'll make sure that you guys get both sides of the commission. And that's long and short about us. I don't like talking too much about myself, and I'll get into the strategies that we're going to talk about real quick, because I know that I have about 15 minutes, and as you guys can tell, I talk really, really fast. So I'm going to try to pack as much information as I can. So I was asked to talk about rentals, and I was asked to talk about rehabs, and I was told I had about 15 minutes to do so. So what I decided to do is, first of all, my email is Angelo, ANGELO, @bankonit, BANKONIT.com. You guys have any questions, feel free to email me. So what I decided to do is I was going to talk about 2 of the strategies. There's way more than 2 types of real estate investing, but we're going to talk, the 2 strategies I'm going to talk about is buy, fix, sell, and the other one is buy, fix, hold. For the buy, fix, sell, I'm going to talk about, I decided to narrow it down to the number 1 mistake that I think rehabbers make, is not knowing rehab costs. So I'm going to dive into rehab costs with everybody and kind of talk about what I'm paying for things and what you should be paying for things so you don't over improve your properties and lose money. And the buy, fix, hold, I'm going to talk to you about this little easy formula that I've been using now for 20 years that makes me even decide if I'm going to get in my truck and drive and look at a property for a rental. A little background and volume is, you know, we bought and sold probably over 5,000 properties in the last 20 years. And that's verifiable. And it's what we do. We keep Mark at Title Guarantee very busy. And then also I have a rental portfolio that spans from South Florida to Central Florida, all the way up to Detroit. So we have a whole, I think we're up to about 80 rentals in Detroit right now. So it's really important for you guys to see that that this is coming from you know, a lot of times when people talk about this stuff, it's theory, but this is from experience. So I just want to give you my experience. So all right, on to buy, fix, and sell. Like I said, I decided on buy, fix, and sell, we're going to talk about the biggest mistake people make. And I think the biggest mistake people make is not knowing cost. So let's talk about cost. And I'm going to base this so everyone kind of gets an idea. I'm basing this on an average 3-bedroom, 2-bath house that's, say, 1,500 square feet. So everyone has an idea, because I don't want people to say, well, you know, I have a house that's, you know, 8 bedrooms and 10 baths, and it's 10,000 square feet. There's no way what you said was true. This is based on a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, 1,500 square feet. So some of the things that people, when improving these houses, people start, when you're selling a house as a realtor, let's start there. When you're selling a house as a realtor, kitchens, bathrooms, garages, those are all real hot points. The garages and the outdoor space, a lot of times, is the thing that seals the husband, and say the kitchen, the bathroom seals the wife, right? So let's talk about kitchens. I'm spending on average for a 10 by 10 kitchen, I'm spending on average for cabinets anywhere from $2,800 to, say, $3,300, right? Then the granite, that's including all the hardware and setting them and installing them, the whole 9 yards. So about say $3,500 for the cabinets. It's about another $1,500 to $2,000 for the granite, and then you have, of course, your appliances. And the appliance packages I put in houses cost $1,800, and that's stainless steel, side by side, microwave, stove, and a dishwasher. So you figure right there, I'm about $6,000 into my, say $6,500 into my kitchens. Beautiful quartz, awesome kitchens. Each bathroom, I'm going by a standard tub bathroom. That's going to cost you probably around, not probably, it's going to cost you $3,000 if you do it right. I'm putting nice, beautiful subway tiles. Sometimes I put that marble look in there, depending on the neighborhood. And I, you know, brand new tub, brand new vanity, brand new toilet, and brand new tile on the floor. So that is about $3,000. If you get into a little bit of a bigger master bedroom, I'm not talking like a really big master bathroom. Sorry, when I'm not talking a really big one that you have like a soaking tub plus a shower, but just like a stand-up shower, double vanity, you're going to be into around the $4,000 mark for that. So $3,000 for a regular bathroom, $4,000 for a little bit of a bigger bathroom. If you do have to throw the soaking tub in, add another $1,000. And that's the cost of that. So a lot of times people get killed right off the bat because they are spending way, way more than that, and it prices themselves out. They price themselves out of the deal, right? So that's that. So the next thing I like to talk about is roofs, because that's a big deal. You get a leaky roof. I love leaky roofs. I love buying properties that have bad roofs because everyone always freaks out about the cost of roofs. Right now I'm doing roofs for about $3 a square. So to give you an idea, if the roof is 1,500 square feet, or let's do easy math. The roof's 2,000 square feet. That roof will cost me anywhere from $7,000 to $10,000, depending on how much wood I need. So, roofs are not scary. That's shingle. That's not tile. Tile roofs cost about double that. So that 2,000 square foot tile roof is going to cost me around 18 grand. So just to give you an idea, that's the cost of that. Flooring is costing me anywhere from $3 to $4 a foot. Again, I'm not putting like the fanciest thing in there. I'm putting, sometimes I put vinyl, sometimes I put tile, depending on the look I'm going for. I actually really am into the vinyl flooring right now because I think they've done an amazing job with the product. I think the warranty's off the charts. I have kids and dogs, and I love the fact that people can run in and out of there and you just practically hose the stuff off. It's very practical. So what else? Paint inside out. So painting is more expensive than most people think. People always think painting's cheap, but I think painting is not, is about, it cost me about $2,500 to do the inside and call it about $2,000 to do the outside. So just under 5 G's to paint a house in and out the right way, 2 colors, done by professionals. So I think that covers, what else did I miss? I try not to do windows. If I do have to do a window, windows are costing me about $400 a standard opening. That's for impact. But I try to avoid that. Doors are a little more, like $1,600-1,700, sliding doors, impact sliding doors. But I try not to do that. There are times I have to. And, always when I do roofs, always when I do windows, I'm always pulling permits for that stuff. But some of the interior stuff I just knock out because it just takes way too much time as an investor to deal with the cities on every little detail. So if you walked into a house, if you're a new real estate investor and you walked into a house and it was completely trashed and you're like, oh my gosh, it needs everything. Here's my little secret formula. So it's about $30 a square foot to renovate a house that's completely tore up. That's something I came up with on my own. That took a lot of trial and error. So if your house is 1,000 square feet and it's tore up, it's going to cost you about 30 grand to do it right. So if your house is 2,000 square feet and it's completely tore up, it's going to cost you about 60 grand to do it right. So those are just quick little benchmark things that help you when you're analyzing an investment property. And to me, that's the number one problem. The biggest mistake that investors make is they either under improve and try to cut corners, which isn't good, or they over improve and make the property like they're looking to live in it with Gustavo, who's very fancy. No, I'm just kidding. Gustavo knows his business really well. But I'm just saying that you just can't over improve a property, and you can't just put things in because you like it. You got to put things in that the masses like, and you've got to make it, to the point. Me and my business, it's so streamlined that I do every house the same down to the colors. So, that's very important for us, and it's very important for you to treat it as a business. So that's that. And if you have any more questions about that, I can get into it. I know this stuff inside out. I know I talk fast.
Maria, are you seeing any questions regarding that?
No questions.
Oh wow!
All right, cool.
Guys, hey.
And then you could take my slide off. I don't need the slide anymore.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm good. So anyway, now I'm going to talk a little bit about buy, fix, hold. I'm going to go. This is going to be really quick. All I want to do is tell you that everything I do in my business, this is going to sound crazy. Everything I do in my business is to save time. I'm trying to save time because if I'm not working and I'm not making money, I want to be home with my family. That's it. That's my motto. That's my mantra. So I try to get benchmarks, and I don't just go look at properties for fun. I've done this a long time. I know what the properties look like. I know half of the layouts in Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach County before I even get there. So I just try to use formulas and use empirical data to make sure that I'm not wasting my time. Because if I'm wasting my time, I'm stealing time away from my wife, I'm stealing time away from my daughter, and I'm stealing time away from my son, and that's what's important to me. So so when you're analyzing an investment property, and and I think Gustavo was going to talk about this from an Airbnb perspective. I don't know that market very well. I've always been a very black or white guy in terms of investing. I've never really done any of the gray areas. So, so when I'm looking at an investment property, if I'm paying 100 G's for a property, bare minimum it's got to rent for is $1,000. If it doesn't rent for $1,000, then I'm not even looking at it anymore. Right? So that I call that my 1% rule. And so if the rent isn't 1% of what the purchase price is, then you're going to lose money on that. Trust me, unless you have the ability to get into a strategy like you'll hear later. If it's just a straight one-time rental, because even if you buy a property for $100,000 and your mortgage is, call it $750, the time you pay taxes and insurance and everything like that, that grand is gone. I mean, it's gone. So I use that 1% even to analyze the 100-unit apartment buildings. So, I mean, it's real quick. I break down these apartment buildings by 1 unit. So if you're telling me that I could buy this apartment building for 70 grand a unit and the average rent isn't 700, I can't even look at it. So, you know, that's why I like Detroit so much, because in Detroit, I'm able to buy properties at 2%. So the properties that I'm buying for 40 in Detroit, they're renting for like $950, Section 8. I mean, serious return. Okay. Is Detroit easy? No. Does it have problems? Yeah. But listen, I'm willing to navigate that property. I'm willing to navigate those problems and put a team together to help me navigate those problems based on that return. So I want to save your time when it comes to buy, fix, and hold. Use my 1% rule. If it doesn't have that 1%, don't waste time on it. Go home and jump in the pool with your kids. And if it does, then you have a viable deal. So, you know, and I don't mean to be so maverick about it. And I hope you don't take me as being maverick. I'm very real with this stuff. So, you know, in hotter markets like South Florida, then to get that 1%, that's tough. It's tough to do because these properties now, you know, even, they spoke earlier about stats. There are no $100,000 properties in Broward. You're not going to buy them. There are no $100,000 properties in Dade, right? So you're paying, if you're lucky, you can get a property in East Fort Lauderdale or Central East. There's East, there's Central East, and there's Central. You can get if you're lucky, you can pick one off for like $160, right? And if it's a 3-2, you might be able to rent it for $1,600-1,700. That's when the market starts to scare me a little bit, because that means that when I like when the rents are higher than what your mortgage payments are, or lower. If they are lower, then for me as an investor, the homeowner better buy, and you have good agents that you have on this call that are going to tell them, hey, look, why pay the $1,600 a month rent when you can buy this house for $130 and your payment's going to be right? So for me, it doesn't make sense as an investor. That's why I move markets. That's why Orlando, that you guys are in, is a strong market. Very smart to be there. Jacksonville is a strong market. Detroit is a strong market. But you know, none of this. I wouldn't buy anything if I didn't employ my 3% rule and my $30 a square foot. So that's kind of how I get through my day and don't waste a lot of my time. So,
Angelo, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, since you were talking about jumping in pools. Do you mind discussing what the cost is for pools, fixing pools?
Oh,
More
to
or
fix a
less?
pool? So,
Yeah.
so I mean, that's kind of loaded. If you're gonna put all new equipment in to get it to bubble and do its pool stuff, you're looking at probably about $1,500. I'm doing a re-diamond bright and to re-diamond bright the inside of the pool. That's have someone come out, pump all the water out, put the water in, put the new water in and treat it. It's about $2,000. If you see like a complete alligator swamp, like you see on some of these like
Green pools.
yeah, if you see that, to get a pool blue again, if that doesn't need the diamond bright, is about $700. I do that all the time. So yeah, that's another thing. I'm glad you brought that up, because that's another thing, especially here in South Florida, that freak people out. They think it's going to cost them like 20, 30 grand. And they don't, you know, don't get it and don't get involved in the real estate investing because they're afraid of the cost of the roof. They're afraid of the cost of the pool. And honestly, if they're going out and looking at this property and they're calling, and you guys, the agents on this can attest to what I'm about to say. If you have someone like me that goes out and knows all my costs, and I put my offer in immediately, and you got someone that doesn't know their costs and they want to call out a specialist for every bit, there's just not the time to do that on these investment properties because they sell no inspection and they sell fast. So knowing your cost is really, really, really important.
And that was actually going to be the next question. Do you do full inspections prior to purchasing, plumbing, electrical, roof inspections, things like that?
All right. So the roof, I inspect myself. I've always have. You know, I know this really well. Electrical, I check the panel. I check it. I don't really like check all the outlets because if the panel is good, I've never had a problem where I've bought a house and every single wire was wrong. I know someone who has, but I haven't. Same with plumbing. If the water turns on and off, I'm changing the whole kitchen. I'm changing both bathrooms. I know I'm going to see what's in the walls. So it's not something I really concern myself with. If there's a huge problem, you know right away with the plumbing. If there's a huge problem just because nothing turns on or there's evidence of water leaks, and even if you had to replumb a whole house, it's $2,500. So I take that risk.
Okay.
What about polybutylene pipes? We've been coming up with that quite a bit.
Yeah, see, so that's kind of like the biggest farce right now. I don't understand. This is like a new problem, right? So here's the thing with the poly pipes. As long as they use copper fittings, it's not a problem. It's just when they don't use the right fittings that they break. So I just closed a property, a townhouse that I bought in Davie, in an area called Saddle Up, and then that came up, and I educated the inspector, I educated the insurance company, and they got the homeowner closed, and everything was fine. So I actually have them in my house, but as long as you have the right connectors, there's no problem.
Okay, good.
I have one question. What about mold remediation?
Mold remediation. Well, all right. So we're in South Florida. So let me tell you right now, every house in South Florida, there's some sort of a mold. There's some sort of mold somewhere. And in every house in South Florida, there's some sort of termite, right? Termite.
Yes.
If you're going to do termites, it's going to cost, the treatment can cost you anywhere from $500 if you got it, up to say $1,500 if you got to tent it, depending on the size of the house. In terms of mold remediation, I never mess with mold remediation. In other words, if I see mold, I rip it out completely. So if I see, because drywall's cheap, all right? Drywall's cheap. So if I see mold in a property, I literally rip all the drywall out. I spray it with bleach. I put the fans in there. I use sometimes if it's something that isn't if it's really bad, I'll hire a mold remediation company. It's like $700 to have them come in, strip the air of mold, and give you a clean mold test. And I've done that in the past, probably about 7, 8 times. But most of the time, ripping out the area that there is the mold and re-putting new drywall is sufficient enough.
Okay, great. Any other questions, Maria?
I saw something across the bottom, but I wasn't able to read it because.
Yes, we have James that asks, where do you buy your materials? Do you have a source? I'm assuming you must have like a preferred vendor list or contractor list that get you good prices.
You know, you guys are gonna be kind of shocked about this. I buy everything at Home Depot. I do because listen, I remember when this goes back to me saying about talking about saving time. Listen, when I first started, I used to go here and try to get this for 40 cents cheaper, and I used to go here and try to get this for this. But the reality of the matter is I found in my business that if I streamline it, I use the same products. Home Depot, I'm part of the Home Depot Pro Desk, and they do a good job for me. I buy from Lowe's, and I buy from Home Depot, and they do a good job. And I use their Pro Desk, and I get a small discount. But remember, I'm using the same products in and out, and I get a decent little discount. And I don't waver. Could I get it a little cheaper? Probably. Is it worth the time that it takes to do that? In other words, I could buy everything in one shot at Home Depot, and my contractors and the people can just go pick it up, and Lowe's too. And I don't have to be the one to facilitate any of that. So I coach both my kids in soccer. I spend a ton of time doing stuff in the community, and I just choose to not run around like a chicken with my head cut off using 20 different stores.
Yeah. That's amazing. Angelo, we thank you so much. I guess somebody else is coming up with a question, but I just wanted to thank you. You notice all this really successful people are usually very giving and generous with their information. So we appreciate you so much. We're looking forward to hopefully having another session with you so that we can kind of delve into
what I always say, I mean, don't let this business intimidate you. All I do is buy something cheap and sell it for more expensive. People have been doing it for years and years and years and years and years. It's not rocket science. It's just, you got to be consistent. That's it.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. And I did see a question come up about how to purchase your first property, and we are going to be getting into that. So Angelo, thank you again for your time. And I guess you were going to hand it off.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Mark Bookstein is after me, and Mark's a dear friend of mine. And we're friends before we've done business. I think we've been doing business together now since, I don't know, somewhere in the early 2000s-ish. Yeah. And Mark owns a title company in Weston, very investor friendly, but I don't want to I always feel like I'm selling you short when I say your title company is investor friendly, because you just handled my refi like a champ. You do a ton of new business with realtors, and Mark's the only person in the world that I can trust what he says, and I don't mean to be so harsh, but what Mark says is gold, and that's really important, because there's good news and there's bad news in the real estate business. There's not only good news, and sometimes somebody has to deliver bad news, and no one owns up to something faster than Mark, and you guys are very, very, very lucky to have met him this early on in your career. That's all I got to say.
Oh, yes.
All right. Well, what we're going to do is, Angelo, don't go anywhere, because a big thing of how Angelo buys houses he didn't talk about was the LLCs and how to buy the houses properly, and not to put them in your personal name when you're buying an investment property. So Angelo's business model is,
so I thought you should talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, the business model as an investor is never put it under your personal name. There's tax liabilities, there's personal liabilities, it's always good to open an LLC and put it under the LLC for insurance reasons, for tax reasons, for liability reasons. And we always, and some people have different business models when they buy property. So Angelo uses the entity that he buys under for his fix and flips, correct? Can you use that one entity? Yep. And then he does branch off into some smaller entities, but most of his rentals are under one entity. And he buys properties under one, and those LLCs are good vessels to move your properties around with less liability. If you have other partners in the property, if you say it's your first property you're buying and you have your friend that wants to partner with you on the property, you open up an LLC, you put both of you as managing members, and you buy it together. So you have everything's together under one property. You don't have any separate names where you have a personal liability. So the key is, when you're an investor, is to buy it the right way the first time, is to buy it under something that protects you, an umbrella protects you, and to insure the properties. That's a big deal too with the LLCs too. You want to make sure you're under LLC and you have the proper insurance under the LLC. So if a tenant gets hurt, if a worker gets hurt at the property, people think it's all easy. You buy the house, fix it. Well, people get hurt, properties burn down during the process. We just had one burned down the other day. A rental. They fixed it up, went to rent it, it burnt down. So these things are all protected under the insurance, under the LLC also. So you have to make sure that you're structuring your purchase of the property correctly. And if you're going to get a private loan on that property, the private investors out there want to make sure that they're under LLCs for all these reasons also. It protects the lenders, it protects the buyers, it protects everybody involved also. So that's another thing too. You have to make sure that you structure, before you go under contract, before you say, Melissa, I want this property, you have to make sure if it's an investment property, you know You have your LLC ready to go. You have your bank account under the LLC ready to go. You have a proof of funds, because Melissa's going to need those proof of funds under the LLC ready to go. Because in this market, you have an hour to make a decision on a hot property. So if Melissa says, hey, there's a property, it's a great rental, a great rehab, there's 50 people behind her that are ready to go if you don't make your decision like that. So this is a very aggressive market. So Melissa, you could even attest to that right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's where I see some of the beginning investors, they get caught up in the particulars of a house. And I'm telling them, listen, you're not living there, you're looking at the numbers. So by the time they sit and think about whether they like the color in the bathroom for a few days, the house is gone. So yeah, you have to move quickly. And really, like you said, the first step is to set up the business, have everything in place, because things will go really, really quick.
Right. And we help with the LLCs if you need it. We also help with the insurance aspect of the companies. We work with a lot of investor-friendly insurance companies that insure properties within minutes of you needing an insurance company. They've specialized in that kind of property. So the cost of the insurance gets brought down. So we handle all of those aspects of it. So the title company isn't just there at the end. The title company sometimes when you buy these properties is there from day one when you make the offer to make sure you structure it right. So we're very investor.
Mark, can I interrupt you?
Go for it.
Yeah, so cost, everyone wants to know cost. So listen, I'm paying on average for a 6-month builder's risk policy for a property that I'm renovating about $1,500, just so everyone knows, okay?
Right. So. Yeah, so you need that insurance. If you're renting it, you have to have it. If you're fixing and flipping it, you have to have it. Before you let anyone in that property, you have to have that insurance. I hear, when I'm in the business, people get hurt in those. People, you have workers that get hurt in there. You have things that happen every day, and they're going to sue you if you don't have the proper insurance. So a big part of
one other thing, Mark is a super conservative guy. I am too. I also go above and beyond, not just buy a property on the property. I actually hold an umbrella policy for my LLCs. So I have like I don't know what it's at this time. I think I'm at somewhere around $7 million umbrella policy that attaches to all my properties when I buy them. Super cheap. It's like $2,000 a year. Totally worth it. And that's so if someone hires an attorney and they go after you and they realize you have an umbrella policy, guess what? It's easy. They just attack the umbrella policy and the lawsuit's over. So that's something I do. Not necessary when you have one property, but it starts to get super necessary when you have 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 properties. So just wanted to let everyone know that too, that little caveat.
Right. So I know someone asked how to purchase your first property. The first thing you're doing if you're purchasing your property as an investor, it's get your LLC opened. If you're the managing member, make sure you're the one on the LLC. If you're doing it with a friend, you're partnering on your first rental or investment property, you both need to be on that LLC. If you don't know how to open an LLC, contact me. We can help you. The second thing is you must open a bank account for that LLC. A lot of people open LLCs and don't have bank accounts. So when you go sell that house or you collect payments on that rent, you're like, I don't have a bank account. How am I going to receive this? So you need to go to the bank and open a bank account on an LLC. So these are things you need to do right in the beginning. And if you're buying it with cash, you need to have a proof of funds under that LLC's bank account or under your personal account that attaches to that LLC bank account. Or you could buy it with financing, but you have to make sure that all these things are taken care of before you even Melissa hits the road for you. So if you're all these investors, that's step one, getting your financials, getting your LLC together, getting your company together, looking for getting the vendors ready. So the minute you get that house, you know, okay, I got to go to Home Depot. I got to get everything ready because every minute is a loss of money for you. You want that day you close, you want to have everything ready, start the process. So these are big things that Angelo has perfected over time that I've watched people, go through over time. And the biggest thing is when people buy houses, they put on their personal name and they're stuck. So these are things that you have to do. You see the dog there?
I see your dog butt.
Yeah. So I don't know. And so those are things that has to be done instantly. So before you do anything, before you look for a house, make sure you get there are your ducks in a row there. Okay.
Hey, Mark, the only thing I would like to add is this: is that because you make a company doesn't mean there's one more step when you make a company, which is to get your EIN number. Which
yes.
You're basically your social security number for your company. Without that, you can't open up a bank account.
Right, you have to do the EIN number, of course. And I see a lot of people that do not do the EIN numbers too. It's a big mistake. So you have to make sure you have the EIN number. Thank you.
Yeah.
We have a quick question.
You get it back same day now online, by the way.
You do?
So.
I know setting up an LLC is a little delayed because of COVID. We're looking 2 weeks. It used to be a lot faster. But you know, it's my experience right now.
Okay, Maria, you
We
got
have
a question?
Yes, we have a question. Dominic wants to know the name of the company that does the umbrella policies.
Angela?
Oh, you know what? It's funny. I don't know. I use a guy by the name of Bob Pepe from Pelican Insurance. We can definitely share his information with you. I'm doing this on my phone, so I can't do it. But if I'll email it to Melissa and then she can share it with everybody.
Yes.
But Bob Pepe is somebody that I use pretty religiously. I think most of the guys that are in this business that are in it kind of use him too. And he's about as low key as you get. And honestly, I don't know the company that writes my umbrella policy at this point because I have the same trust I have in Mark, I have in Bob, and I know it's handled. So I don't really dive into the details.
We'll definitely put Bob Pepe's information and tell them.
Yeah, we use them also.
Yeah, tell
Yeah.
him.
Yes.
Angelo sent you. So we'll put that in an email to all of you attendees.
Along with Mark's information as well. I have some people asking for Mark's information, so we'll include that as well.
Okay.
All you got to do is buy the latest GQ magazine. Mark's on the cover.
That's Gustavo.
Well, thank you guys so much for all of your information. I mean, we could talk all day. I mean, this is great, Angelo. We appreciate you so much. And Mark, for years we've been working together, always top of the line service, the best in everything. So thank you guys both for sharing with us today. And we are going to move on because the next step is to find where that money is coming from. So Michelle Hosang is with C2 Financial, and she's going to be talking about fix and flip programs, how you can get that money for buying those investment properties. And I am going to hand it over to Michelle.
Hey guys, how are you? Thank you for having me. As Melissa said, I'm Michelle. I'm with C2 Financial. We're independent mortgage brokers. So we have many loan products to fit many needs. Today, what we're going to talk about is our fix and flip programs. I do have with me my kind of specialist, Kelly Soto. She's with Finance of America, and she's my trusted advisor with these flips and my partner in crime. So she and I handle the fix and flips for investors, and then I can also do the end loans to your buyers that are actually going to buy your flip. So we make a great team. And she's going to actually go through a couple of slides with you that we prepared. And, you know, I really hope that you hear something today that piques your interest and that also motivates you to use smart leverage to grow your fix and flip portfolio. So I'm going to share my screen. And Kelly, you're there? Kelly, can you unmute her, Melissa?
She is not muted. Okay, hold on one second. No, she's not muted. So, Kelly, you there? Hello, Kelly. Let's see. Hold on. One moment.
She may have to check her audio.
Yeah. Kelly, you there? Okay. I mean, she's in here, but maybe you can call her and put her on speaker.
Yeah, let me call her really quickly.
Hi, I can hear you guys, but for some reason you can't hear me.
Okay.
Well, we hear you now. Yes, we hear you.
Well, they hear you, I think, through my cell phone. I'm not sure if that's going to work, but.
Are you guys able to hear me? I don't know why I am muted.
Oh, okay.
Are you able to hear her? Is this okay?
Yeah, I can hear. Just make sure it's turned up all the way.
Okay.
But yeah, if she looks at the bottom left, does it say mute? Is there like a line through it?
I don't even have that. I don't even have that option. I just have start video, join audio, and I'm already joined through my cell phone.
Well, we hear you fine. Hopefully everybody else does. I hear you fine, so we can go ahead.
Okay.
Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Kelly, and I work in conjunction with Michelle. Like she said, we are partners in crime in this. I handle all of the investment financing for our clients. So again, I'm with Finance of America Commercial, and in the commercial division, I only deal with investors. And we do fix and flip loans, and we do rental debt service coverage ratio loans. So everything that we look at is based off of, for the fix and flip, based off of the client's experience over the last 36 months and their credit score. That's it. So we don't look at tax returns, we don't look at W-2s, we don't look at pay stubs. That's not how we qualify a borrower. We look at the borrower as an overall. So pre-COVID, we were super aggressive. We were probably in the top 3 of lenders throughout the nation. We do loan nationwide. Post-COVID, we, like a lot of other lenders, had to tighten up restrictions due to foreclosures. So we're seeing a lot of foreclosures across the U.S., and we expect them to get a lot higher, which is great for the investor because that's where you guys pick up the good deals and are able to do a lot more jobs and make a lot more profit. So today what we do, again, we look at FICO, we look at experience, and based off of that, that's going to determine the leverage that we're going to give you on an exposure limit so that you can do multiple deals throughout a 12-month period. Our max leverage, Michelle, you want to flip the screen? You want to flip it one more time?
Okay.
So the max, our loan limit on the exposures go from $500,000 up to $10 million, depending on your experience. So the majority of the lenders that I deal with usually are about a $4 million line based off of what we do. We used to do ground-up construction. That's been temporarily suspended. We're just doing a fix and flip right now. Hopefully that will come back. But the minimum loan size is $50,000. So like when Angelo was talking about Detroit, I do a lot of business out that way because the loan sizes are much smaller. But between acquisition and rehab, you know, the loan sizes, we can definitely do those for you guys. You're only going to pay interest on what you use. You're not paying interest on the entire line amount. So everybody just needs to understand that. And then in regards to how you take title, so just to reiterate, we will do business with people who want to do that as individuals or in an entity. An entity is definitely preferred, you know, in an LLC or in a corporation to keep you safe in that respect. You can go ahead and flip. So in the very beginning, we get a copy of your track record over the last 36 months, buy, sell, flip, and buy and hold. We pull your credit, we do a background check, and that's pretty much all it takes. It's $500 for the application fee. As long as you utilize the line, we will never charge you that again when we refresh your line. If you get a lower line amount to start with, and you think, you know, you're buying a property today, you're buying a property next week, you're buying a property next Friday, and you think, oh my gosh, I'm going to need more money, we will increase your line amount. So we're here to help you grow. This is a little bit older slide. Our rates now are as low as 6.25%, up to about 11%, and that's for the investor with less experience who will get the higher rate. We'll fund 100% of the rehab cost always. We will fund up to 85% on the acquisition, depending on, again, FICO and experience. Otherwise, it'll be up to 80% on the purchase. So borrowers are going to be front-loaded, meaning they have to come in with more money on the down, so that it'll be a little bit harder for them to walk away from the property, which is what we've found. Each property is going to be priced on a loan level pricing. Liquidity won't be verified for the acquisition and for the cost to renovate until we do the individual property. We allow drawn balance on every loan, and drawn balance usually is a charge to the investor. We don't charge any investor, and drawn balance means that we are going to have you pay on acquisition, and then the funds that are in the rehab account are going to be set aside for the borrower, and as they draw for their inspections, then we are going to charge them accordingly. Back to what Angelo said, as far as a budget, we use a company called CFSI, and they are a huge construction management company nationwide. They deal with all the big banks. These guys are dead on with their budgets. So when I'm dealing with the investors, I'm really talking to them and trying to guide them and help them on getting their budgets really accurate. And the way Angelo described it to you, he's exactly right. I'll have people sending your budget and tell me they're remodeling a 3-bedroom, 2-bath and doing 2 bathrooms with cabinets, counters, and pops for $3,000. And that's not going to happen. It is about $6,600 for the cabinets and countertops. So the budget will kill you, and that's what we found, is that people were not dialed in on their budgets, and then when they get to the very end, they're short, and they have no more money left. And I can't unwind the loan and refund more rehab costs. It just doesn't work that way. So the budget is really, really important. It has to be very, very accurate. We also allow 12 or 18-month term options. So a lot of people, I'm on the West Coast, so I deal with really large loan numbers, but I do a lot of business in New York and New Jersey and in Florida. And so they have some big numbers out there too, as far as people that are doing really large flips. So not everybody qualifies, right, for $1.5 million, $2 million, $3 million, $4 million house. So sometimes you need that 18-month term. We will allow you to do that up front, and it'll save you money as an investor in the long run, because if you only choose the 12-month balance, it's going to cost you 2 points to get 2 extensions to get you to 8 months. So it's just it's a much better option, and we don't charge you for it. Go ahead and flip. So this is just kind of a little overview of what we look at. In the last 36 months, we have a look-back period of flips, spec builds, and rentals, purchased and sold. You need 3+ for experience in order to do business with us. Again, minimum loan size is $50,000 to $1 million. We lowered our max loan amount to $1 million just because the majority of deals that are in foreclosure right now, unfortunately, are well over $2 million, and unfortunately, a lot of those happen to be mine. Exposure limits, again, $500,000 up to $10 million, which allows you guys as investors to be able to do multiple transactions at the same time. So we're here to help you guys grow your business and not just do one and then finish, and then do another and then finish. We don't operate like that. Again, interest accrual, we allow drawn balance. That's the best way for you guys to go. And there is no charge to you. Our ARV is 70%. So it's either going to be acquisition and rehab or 70% of the after repair value, whichever is lower. Max acquisition financing is now 90% loan to cost, meaning that we will loan up to 85% on the purchase, 100% on the rehab, or 70% of the after repair value. Again, 90% loan to cost is for 8+ in experience and a 700 or better credit score. Otherwise, we'll drop you down by 5%. The borrower types, again, you can do it as an individual if you'd like. I don't recommend it. I've flipped 20 properties. I've spec built 10. I've been in the mortgage industry since 1982. And LLC and a corporation is definitely the way to go. It's just a protection for yourself. The type of properties that we loan against, so we call ourselves Finance of America Commercial, but it's because we underwrite to commercial guidelines. We do not do any true commercial product buildings. We don't do churches, tilt-ups, strip centers, businesses. We don't do that. We loan to investors that are doing single families, condos, townhomes, 2 to 4, 5 to 20, and mixed use. So that is for our fix and flip. If you're doing multifamily, 5 to 20 or mixed use, you have to have documented experience in the past. Otherwise, we won't allow you to test it with us. Minimum interest is 90 days. So meaning if you flip a house in 60, you still owe us 30 days worth of interest. And our minimum credit score is 620. So with our credit score, it's different than conventional financing, right? So when Michelle pulls your credit on a regular FHA, we're going to go with a lower credit score. With us, we take the highest mid. So if Gustavo has a 740 and Stephanie has a 800 and I have a 620, we're going to use Stephanie, which is good. Next screen. So what's the term for the exposure limit? You can either choose 12 or 18 months. It's totally up to you. It's on a case-by-case basis for the investor. The property types, again, are single family, condo, townhome, 2 to 4, 5 to 20, and mixed use for fix and flip. Fix and flip is just a short-term loan. How do loan values and LTVs work? It's just based off of experience and credit score. We definitely do need access to the interior for an appraisal and inspection. So we're going to do an appraisal and inspection up front, and we're going to figure out what that as is and that after repair value is based off the budget that you give us in the very beginning. So that's important. We are a Blackstone company, so we're not a hard money lender. We definitely have to sell these loans on the secondary, so that's why we have to have all of our ducks in a row. The speed and advantages of an exposure limit, it just gives you the capability of doing more at one time. You need to use a general contractor. It's only required if you're doing an extensive rehab, which is like 50% of the total cost of the project. If you require a GC in your area, then yes, we're going to make sure that you hire a GC, and we'll have to check them out as well. You can go ahead and flip, Michelle. Origination points, they work on every deal. We charge origination points not on the entire line. So if you had a $10 million line, we're not going to charge you on the entire line. We're going to charge you per transaction. Interest accrual, again, that's on drawn balance. That's the best way to go. That's how I would direct everybody. There's no sense in paying on money that you're not using and it's just sitting there in an escrowed account. The exposure limit size is determined is based off your track record for the 3 years. So the property is sold if you flipped 5 for $3 million and you purchased 2 rentals for $1 million, that's a $4 million line. And there is no minimum usage or penalties incurred for lack of use. We are coming out, we're going to be relaunching our bridge program again next week. So that's like, a lot shorter term. This is for people who have properties and let's say they've already finished rehabbing them and they need to lower their rate for their holding, they can absolutely do a bridge. Let's see. Yep, that's it. So any questions for me while I got you guys on the phone?
Maria, do you see?
Yes, we have a question from Dominic. What loans are the best for fix and flips as well as low interest rates?
What loan is best for fix and flip? It would be the fix and flip loan that we have. It's a short-term rental. And again, the pricing would be based off of your experience and your credit score. That's really what will drive the terms.
Great. Any more questions? One of our lovely past clients, Ms. Johnson, she wants to share some advice to make sure that you guys have your own general contractor ready for, to provide all those quotes.
Yeah, because it can get very complicated if you don't, and drawn out. So if you have somebody that you trust, or if you need, recommendations, let us know. But yeah, you do need someone that is dependable. Otherwise, it can just make the process very frustrating.
Right. And that's only required if you're doing extensive renovation for this particular program. over 50% of the acquisition.
So great, that was
It
great.
would actually, it'll be 50% of the total cost, meaning
I'm sorry.
acquisition plus rehab.
Right.
Yep.
Mhm.
That was some great information. I know you have to go, but we really appreciate you giving us information on that. And anybody that needs more information on fix and flip, please give us a call. Like I said, call us on Monday, set up an appointment so we can sit down and start putting together a plan for you moving forward based on what you're looking to do. So thank you so much to Michelle for sharing, and to Kelly as well.
One last question, maybe Michelle can answer this. What percentage is typically needed for down payment?
For down payment, it's basically a loan to cost, right? So it's a loan to acquisition cost. So that's going to depend on your credit score. But go ahead, Kelly.
It's usually, again, based off of experience and FICO score. It'll be determined. It can be, if it's 8+ for experience in the last 36 months and a 700 or greater credit score, it's up to 85% down and 100% on the rehab. If you have if you have 3 to 7 for experience in the last 36 months, it'll be up to 80% on the down payment. So we'll put 20% down for you and then 100% on the rehab. But we will always finance 100% of the rehab budget.
So it could be anywhere between 10 to 20% down on the cost to acquire the property, and then we'll finance 100% of the rehab.
That's amazing. That's a great opportunity for many people to invest, especially covering all the rehab costs is usually what's stopping people from being able to do this. So that's wonderful. Any more questions, Maria?
Nope, not at this time. We've answered them all.
Okay, great. And, at a future time, we're going to be delving into these subjects regarding financing, doing a complete seminar on that, and then other aspects of investing. So stay tuned. And we're getting ready to move into a very popular area. A lot of people have been asking about Airbnbs. And so we're very excited to have Gustavo here. But before we let Gustavo go on to speak, we want to go ahead and do a giveaway really quick. And Stephanie, what are we giving away today?
Your mic, Steph. Your mic.
Yeah,
Sorry about that. It's going to be a $25 Amazon gift card.
How many people want a $25 Amazon gift card? So let me go ahead and share my screen here.
We have a couple of hands going up.
Okay. Here it is. Share. Okay. Hopefully I'm sharing it now. Okay. All right. So hopefully you see your name on the screen here on the circle. Can you see it?
Mel, can you scroll up on the name list? It looks like we're cutting some people off at the top.
Do you see
Oh,
it?
right on the.
Do you see the circle?
Oh, yes. Okay.
If you don't see your name on the circle, speak now or forever hold your peace, because I'm about to spin. You see any names, Maria? You have to.
No, nobody's saying anything.
Okay, great. So we're gonna go ahead and spin. The winner is Donald. Woo! Donald, you got a $25 Amazon gift card that's coming your way. So make sure we have your correct email address and not somebody else's, because then they will be getting your gift card. So, okay, great. So the next person that I'm going to introduce is Gustavo. He is an expert in Airbnb. He's done a ton of them. You're going to really find this interesting. If you haven't thought about Airbnb before, I think after you hear Gustavo, you're going to certainly consider it. Thank you so much, Gustavo, for taking the time to be on here and be able to share with our clients. So I hand it over to you. Thank you, Gustavo.
Thank you, thank you. So there's been a lot of nuggets that's been dropped today. So I hope that you guys took the time out to take your notes, and I'm hoping to add to a lot of that. So I want to start with this. So it's back in 2011, right? 2011, and I am on top of the world. If you know, the real estate market was depressed, but on my side, my business was booming. I was traveling the world, my wife was pregnant. And so on one of those trips, I went to Vietnam. And when I went to Vietnam, I was so excited because, you know, the language barrier I was so excited because I finally got someone to speak to. And then when the gentleman speaks to me that we're having a nice big bowl of pho, for those of you who know who are not, have ever had Vietnamese food, it's like a big bowl of soup. And I put a lot of sriracha in it. I made it nice and hot and spicy. And then the gentleman speaks up and says to me, "Speak up, I can't hear you." He leans in, "Speak up, I can't hear you." Thinking I just put too much sriracha in it, then pay no mind to it, right? So a month passes by and my voice is still a little raspy. I'm, you know, sound like I'm going through puberty, but it's kind of like sexy. And then I go and I'm like, maybe I should go onto the Google machine and see if anything's wrong. So I do a little research and it says I should go to the doctor, an ear, nose, and throat doctor, otherwise known as an ENT. Not thinking anything of it. I make an appointment and I go to the doctor. She calls me in, "Mr. Pinheiro, it's your time to come in." So I speak to the doctor and she goes and she takes out this long hose. And I'm like, "What are you gonna do with that thing?" And she goes, "I'm gonna put it up your nose." For those of you who have been scoped before, you know that this is not a pleasant experience. So she puts it up my nose, down the back, and checks the back of my throat. "We need to do a biopsy." Okay, still not thinking anything of it. Go do the biopsy and I come back about 2 weeks later to get the results. This time I have my wife in tow. We're sitting in the waiting room, going back and forth about why, you know, the baby's names and what we could do. And back. Okay, so we're now in the examination room. I'm sitting there. The doctor comes in, but she has her back turned to us. Solemn words, "Gustavo, I gotta tell you, you have cancer." My world just shattered in that moment. I was like, this cannot be happening to me. This cannot be happening to me. I'm on top of the world. I'm traveling. My business is booming. My wife is having a second child. Why? Why is this happening to me? That walk from the examination room to the parking lot was the longest walk of my life. The subsequent weeks had me find out what I was really made of. Going through the battle of cancer, losing weight, fighting that battle. And one of the take.
Oh, Gustavo, you cut out. Gustavo. Uh-oh, he froze. Gustavo.
It's about to start raining really bad, so that might be it.
Yeah, I might have cut out. Gustavo, you there? It's like a cliffhanger here. Gustavo.
I know. I was like, what happens
And
next?
I want to give that to you guys today, too. I'm going to go into the 4.
Okay. Gustavo? Uh-oh. Sorry, guys. He just got cut out. He's going to be coming back in a minute. Hold on. Let me just make sure that he can connect. Maria, if you don't mind just giving him a quick, or Stephanie, giving him a quick call and just letting him know that he cut out.
Oh.
So that he can come back, he can sign back in.
Mel, in the meantime, while we wait, we do have a question from Dominic.
There's Gustavo. He's back. He's back.
Oh.
So where I left off was I'm going to give you your four sorry about that, the 4 sequences to getting a proper Airbnb up and running.
Okay. So Gustavo, we heard, we cut off when you're talking about the longest walk of your life.
Okay, so let me catch you guys up to speed. Okay,
Yeah.
so that was the longest walk of my life, and then the subsequent months that happened, I had to dig in myself, and once I found out that there were certain things that I learned, and one of those things, actually two of the things, the takeaways were to be determined and focused. So whether you're deciding to fix and flip, whether you're deciding to hold rentals, whether you're deciding to do Airbnbs, the obstacles that you're gonna have to get through, you're gonna have to be determined and focused. So with that, I'm gonna share with my 4 secrets to properly running and managing an Airbnb and the obstacles that you're gonna occur. So get your pen and paper ready, because I'm gonna drop some nuggets on you right now. First and foremost, and we've talked about this before in many different ways when we were sharing the data of how properties are moving, and Angelo shared some of his data about like what markets he's investing in. So property location. It's very important to look at this, because just because you got a property, you may be on the wrong side of the street and you won't get the type of rentals that you're thinking that you're getting. So I would say basic things. Anybody could download the Airbnb app. If you have an area that you're looking for, I would say start by downloading the app or even going online and just look what's available. What are the daily room rates? What's happening? What's my competition look like? Find out, who you're competing against. What are the finishes? What are the furnishings that they have? What are the amenities that they offer, right? So you want to be able to substantiate investing in that area, but not too much so that you don't have so much competition that you won't get any business, but not so little that there's like, you're just gonna be the only one in town. Because then, therefore, in suburban anywhere, you can be the only Airbnb, but how much business are you going to really get? So really understanding property location is very, very key. A lot of my examples are going to come from Broward County, because I know we're in different areas, but particularly Fort Lauderdale. So you can be very close to downtown Fort Lauderdale and be in the wrong neighborhood, for example. And it may be a borderline B, C neighborhood, and you think, oh, I'm only 2 or 3 blocks away. But when you realize that those 2 or 3 blocks will make a huge difference and impact on your income, because the way that people are looking at it, it's just like looking at a hotel. So not every property really in their location fits the criteria for Airbnb. So I would say that's number 1. Secret number 2, this is very, very, very important. And most people overlook this when they're first setting up their Airbnb, and there's different reasons why, but I'll let you know that it's not worth the risk, and that's licensure. Each municipality is different. So if you're in Broward County or in other parts of the state of Florida or wherever you're located, each municipality, the licensure is different, the requirements are different. So for the city of Fort Lauderdale, for example, everybody has to register with the state. Once you register with the state, then you also have to register with the city, and there's a bunch of different steps that you have to take into place. Once you put that in place, it's a long, tedious process. It takes about 30 to 45 days, and you have to also make sure that your property is properly prepared. So what you will end up having to pass an inspection, and most people don't know that once you get your licensure. When you pass what they do is basically code enforcement. They have a division in code enforcement that will go to your property. They supposedly say that they're not looking for code violations, but I've seen it happen where next thing you know, you have a bunch of code violations on your property, but supposedly they're just inspecting the property to follow Airbnb guidelines. So one of the things that always stands out in Airbnb is that it is run like a hotel motel. What that means is that most of the times you probably will find out that you do not have an adequate fire alarm system. They want and they require CO2 and fire alarms to be in every single bedroom and in the common as well. Most of the times you just have, in the common areas and, your living room and only a couple of fire alarms. And these fire alarms need to be wired and they need to be all in sync. So if one goes off, all of them go off. So battery operated fire alarms, and they have to be CO2, will not suffice. So those are the things that you want to make sure that you have that in there. So upgrading the fire alarm systems almost in all these houses in the city of Fort Lauderdale, you will happen to have it. Again, I'm just using this as an example because each municipality is different, okay? You have to illustrate. One of the other things to pass inspection in order to get your licensure is that you're going to have to draw and have an illustration of all the exits on your property. In the case of an emergency, you have to have this posted in an area where it's easily visible. In that, you also have to have the local police number. You have to have local fire department, local ambulance, all this stuff, local numbers besides 911, just in case it's not an emergency. You also have to have a telephone line, a landline, so that's going to be part of your costs. In the event if you're doing an event of emergency and cell phones or power's out, you know, if there's a hurricane, you have to have a landline. So that's one of the other, these are the things I'm talking to are not choices, they're not options. These are things that you have to run an Airbnb business, okay? Let me just make sure I hit all my notes, okay? And also one other thing is that you have to have fire extinguishers. They will check this upon your inspection. If you happen to have a property that has a pool, or if you're in a condo that has a pool, you do have to make sure that you have the proper alarms on your doors and that they resonate a sound. Even if you have a pool guard around your pool, a pool gate, you still have to have an alarm on your doors. Any doors that face the alarm, okay? Right now you have to, because there is a task force now in the city of Fort Lauderdale, and you know, I imagine in other municipalities as well, that they are looking for people who are not going and not putting the proper licensure in place. I've been to many and many magistrate hearings where they're imposing hundreds of dollars of fines per day in order to get the proper in order to get your proper licenses in place, okay? You will be, if you don't put the licensure in place, you will accrue fines, okay? And you know, you can actually get possibly shut down by the city. And not all, and you also, the final thing is that you want to look at the COVID-19 regulations. You know, so this, because of COVID-19, there are stringent regulations that be put into place. This could affect your bottom line. So a lot of these properties that we're talking about are usually the higher end model properties that are probably like, you know, $150,000, $200,000 range, where when Angelo was talking about the 1% rule, a lot of these won't make sense if you're just renting it to a normal yearly renter. A lot of these returns you can see during season. I have a few Airbnbs, and during season I can see between $6,000 to $10,000 a month, easy. My net number is probably about 85% of that. You know, once I take into account, you know, cleaning costs and all that. So these are things that you want to take into account, okay? The fourth thing, I think that was 2, 3, yeah, code violations. We went to that. So the fourth thing is the type of properties, right? So one of the things that you want to look at is, because we have a lot of choices. So you have, basically it boils down to single family versus condo units, right? And not all, you know, this, please bear in mind, this list is not an end all be all list. These are just a couple of pros and cons that I tell you when you're choosing a property, where to choose it. We went over location, we went over licensure, we went over code violations, and we touched on briefly the returns on that, which I'll get into a little bit more in a second. But the type of property, so condo versus single family residences. I have both. And I tell you the pros and cons of both. So for example, condos, the pros is usually a cheaper price point. You can get into a condo a lot cheaper than you can in a single family house. Less maintenance in terms of, like, you're really not worrying about the roof. If there's a roof issue, you're splitting it amongst the other owners. The landscaping is usually taken care of, the parking's taken care of. So you're just really worrying about the contents of your own individual unit. So that's usually less maintenance, is cheaper. And the other part too is that, especially if you're going east closer to the beaches to find a home that far east. It's not that it's impossible to find the homes, but the price points in with an Airbnb won't necessarily make sense. So you can get into a more desirable neighborhood, more like an A-rated neighborhood where, you know, for example, like beachfront property, you can get there. And if you have a condo, I happen to, for those of you here in South Florida and know Fort Lauderdale area, I happen to have a condo by the Galleria Mall. And it is about a 10-minute walk to the beach. So we get a lot of people who come vacationing and just want to have, go to the mall, have some break to the beach and just chill. And so that's one of the reasons why I bought that condo. The cons of a condo. Assessments. You have unforeseen costs that you may not be able to see. And the thing is the difference between, say, an assessment and a normal repair on a single family residence is that assessments, usually when a condo association has an assessment, they really don't lower the monthly fee down. So after say there's a repair to replace the roof and your monthly maintenance cost goes up by $100, $200, they usually don't revert back to that once the assessment's paid. They kind of maintain that same price and you have no control over that. So that affects your bottom line. There's also, you always constantly battle with board regulations on how so on top of the already stringent regulations with the city of Fort Lauderdale, in this case, you would also have to deal with the regulations within the board, okay? And then the other problem could be cohabiting with other owners. You know, other owners may be disgruntled that you're running Airbnb at their residence where they live at. So these are some cons that you may definitely encounter if you have an Airbnb in a condo, okay? Houses. Oh, so here's the other part. Sorry, before I get to houses, there's one other thing, bringing relevant information to COVID-19. So COVID-19 guidelines currently are tricky. The ordinances keep changing what seems daily. So interpretation of those ordinances have been less, you know, for lack of a better word, very challenging, where even code enforcement officers, where city officials don't know what's going on or how to interpret those ordinances and pose those ordinances and implement them. So Broward County puts in an ordinance, and then so basically it's left to the condo association board members to interpret that and become lawyers and try to figure out how to impose those ordinances. So that's going to be a big challenge, especially with the COVID-19 that's going on now. So let's talk about houses, okay? So some of the pros of houses is that you can operate your business freely. You're not confined to any board regulations. You don't need any board approval to do the things that you need. Easier access. Most condos, you have to have some sort of gate or some sort of entryway, so it becomes a challenge, especially during these COVID-19, when you're trying to do self-check-in. It may be a little bit more challenging for your guests to get in the building. With a house, you don't have that. Large, also parking larger vehicles, is a little bit easier. Most houses, you have a backyard, and obviously you have no shared common areas. So these are good. You can also host a larger number of people. So therefore, what that turns into revenue is that you could charge a little bit more per night. So for example, the condo that I use, I charge on an average probably between $100 to $200 a night, depending on the season. And if it was the same property and it was a house, because I could sleep more people, I would be the $300 to $450 a night, depending on how many amenities I had in it. If I had a pool, if I was a jacuzzi, if there's a boat dock, depending on the amenities that I have, I could actually charge a lot more per night. Okay. Cons of the houses. Okay. They're usually at a higher price point. So to get in to buy that property, it's a higher price point to purchase it. So you have to really be able to do your numbers. If you have to rehab the property, you got to be, like Angelo was saying, you got to be tight on your numbers to make sure that the things that you're doing make sense, to make sure that these numbers, you could do all these numbers before you even step foot into a property. And you kind of figure out what the market's holding, what they're asking for, how much you could get per night, and then what the rehab costs, and the bottom line, what's the maximum that you could pay for a property. Another con is you've seen probably in the news lately, especially with the COVID-19 regulations down in Miami, you've heard about it, is that your house could turn into a party house. And really, you don't know how to control that. So making sure that there's stringent guidelines. What I've done in order to avoid that is that I make sure that I take down all the parties and all the guests' names that are gonna be there. I take a copy of the person's license, and I tell them immediately that I have a zero tolerance policy around partying and late night hours. The minute that I get a complaint, I call the police, and we start the ejection procedures right away, and I cancel their reservation, and with a no refund back, no questions asked. The other thing, Con, is that the property may not be available. Remember, we talked about geographical location as one of the first things that you want to look at. So when you're looking at areas that are highly desirable areas, a neighborhood, places by the beach, for example, that you could get a lot of revenue coming in, they may not lend themselves to having houses, or the houses that would lend themselves to being good Airbnbs. So those are the kind of like the 4 nuggets, the secrets that I'll say that I would look at when looking at an Airbnb property. Again, going back into the revenue, when you're looking at the revenue on Airbnbs versus a long-term rental, using my condo as an example, I probably could get maybe $1,800 a month furnished on that, but I would be paying for all the amenities, light, water, cable. Well, I don't pay water in the condo, but the light and the cable and having it furnished, and that would be pushing $1,800 on that same unit. On an average month, I could be between $3,000 to $3,500 a month. So you can see how the difference in the rate of return is a lot higher. I know I gave you some other numbers between $6,000 and $10,000 a month, but those numbers were based on a single family residence. So just comparing the two. And one thing I want to leave you guys with, which is what I opened up with, is that remember your success is widely impacted on your focus and determination. I'm Gustavo Pinero, and I specialize in finding properties that would be great fits for Airbnb. So I would like to open this up for any questions at this time.
Any questions? That's wonderful, Gustavo. So inspiring and so necessary to hear even right now, as we're dealing with, all of the health crisis that's going on around the world. Determination, and I think most of the people on this call, they want to achieve and make something better for themselves and their families, and that's why they're here. And I thank you again for sharing with them. So do we have any questions, Maria?
No questions at this time.
I have one for you, Gustavo.
Yes.
I was speaking with a friend the other day, mentioned that she had 2 Airbnb properties in Lauderhill, which is Central Florida, that I thought, Airbnb in Lauderhill, who would rent there? And so give me a sense of, you mentioned that moving east, that would be a nice spot to have them. But she was mentioning to me that they were full, and I'm like, who would do an Airbnb in locations that you would not think would be, say, touristy or travelers coming into the area?
So yeah, I think that the rule of thumb is that you can go into neighborhoods that are possibly getting gentrified, or neighborhoods that are like, say, B to A neighborhoods, because a lot of people are just travelers and they just want to just get a break. There are some people that even local. I rent to local. I do have properties in Lauderhill as well that we rent, and they're equally as busy. It is a house. It has a pool. So if you're going to more of those type of neighborhoods that so let's say the beach. So East Fort Lauderdale, and then East Fort Lauderdale, and we're comparing the two, like apples for apples. I would say that if I'm looking at East Fort Lauderdale, I would make sure at least it has a pool. Preferably if it has a jacuzzi, a nice backyard. So these things will lend themselves to people who have, they want to just have some family members get together. They want to do a barbecue, or, they have some family in town for a graduation. And, or there's a lot of events that happen down here in South Florida and even Miami. I've had people that will go to the art festival down in Miami in late November, early December, and they will come down here and they'll stay in Fort Lauderdale because it's a quick $30 Uber ride, or they could rent a car. It's very cheap. It's very convenient. It's close to the airport. So those are things I would look for too. When we're looking at geographical locations, I would look for how close it is to the airport, because that's one of the first questions I get, right? I would look at what kind of amenities that the property has, such as pools, spas, jacuzzis. I would look at also how close it is to shopping. Is it convenient to go to the supermarket, or am I going to have to drive 30 minutes to go to the supermarket? Can I walk to some of these places? So how much is foot traffic? How close can I get? How can I get around without having to rent a car? I find that when you have a property that everything's close by, the one that I have in Lauderhill is kind of Lauderhill, Fort Lauderdale area. It's not too far from the Broward, the Walmart that's on Broward Boulevard. So I find that they like that because it's 24-hour access to, well, now with COVID, hours have changed, but they have access to, they have access to the supermarket, they have access to Walmart, they have access to all the things. So, and if you're looking at, say, East Fort Lauderdale versus East Fort Lauderdale, when someone's coming in, if they have to drive an extra 5-10 minutes, it's usually not a big deal. But if they're coming in for a festival, such as the Tortuga Festival, which we have every year, that's going to be the distinguished. They probably won't go to East Fort Lauderdale. They want to stay East Fort Lauderdale because they want to be within a quick Uber ride or a quick walk to where their event's at. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
We have one question from Dominic. Are there property managers that we should hire or be our own property managers?
It just depends. Like Angelo said before, the main thing is about structure and setting up a crew, and it's all about time, right? So I adhere to Angelo's philosophy 100% or 100,000%, which is the balance. So I would pay a little bit more to have the freedom to do what I want to do with my family. We keep everything in-house, so we've already structured everything in a way that we don't have per se an outside property manager, but I do have a full-time assistant that takes care of those things. So to answer your question, it really depends on how many Airbnb properties you have. I guess the same thing as it would with rentals. Does it make sense to hire a property manager for an Airbnb on one property? Probably not, unless if you're like out of town or out of state and you're making those types of investments. I would do that. But normally, I think the normal charge is almost 20% per booking.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead. Are you finished?
So it is a lot higher than, say, a rental. The percentage that they take on an Airbnb rental is a lot higher than they would do on a normal a long-term rental.
Okay, and then we have a question from Tara Johnson. How many properties would you recommend an individual Airbnb investor to have at a given time?
Well, how much money you want to make? That's really the question. And how much headache do you want? If you get it systematized, I keep talking about that. That's why I say that Angelo hit it on the head, which is like systems are very, very important, and staying focused and determined on what your goal is super important. In terms of how many I would have, I would look at, don't underestimate the power of having multi-units. I mean, I've seen opportunities where you can buy 4 plexes, 5 plexes, and you can turn them all into Airbnbs. Here's one caveat. I want to let you guys know in on a secret that the ordinance, the way it reads right now, unless and this is as of probably like maybe 1 month ago, I don't believe it's changed yet, but if you have an Airbnb, so that the Airbnb regulations in the city of Fort Lauderdale again, is that if it's 4 units or less, you have to get a licensure for the Airbnb. If it's 6 units or more, that's hotel, motel licensure. But if it's 5 units, that's the loophole. You don't have to get licensed, and you don't fall in either one category. So that's the loophole that a lot of people don't know. And a lot of times it's very uncommon to find a 5-unit building, and that's in the right area with the right other criteria. you know, so if you do find something like that, I would snatch that up.
Awesome.
Okay, good to know. Thank you. So the questions, I believe they're finished. Oh no, wait, I'm sorry. Okay, Jody Ann Dale is asking, do you work with a cleaning crew?
Yes, absolutely. And here's the really, really important part. Because of COVID, the cleaning process is a lot more stringent. So you just got to take into account that your costs, normally I could get, you know, an apartment turned over for about $75. Normal, probably like 1-2 bedroom apartment, about 1,200 square feet with 2 baths. It's about $75 to clean it. You're gonna probably, right now, you're probably running about $100, $125. It's a pass-through cost that you just charge your renter, but it is just something that you need to be aware of, because there's gonna, and the turnaround times for cleaning is a lot longer now, because you have to air out the property. You gotta make sure you disinfect. So I don't want to step over this, because this is the most latest information that's on that. I was literally reading the ordinance yesterday, because there's been so many changes. So this is something, if you're jumping into the business, you want to make sure that you understand those rules and regulations.
Awesome.
Okay, perfect. And then we have one last question from Dominic. He's asking, how does one go about finding the best property manager?
Call me. That's the easiest way. We do. It needs to make sense both sides. So we do and have done in the past for other investors, the property management for them, but it just needs to make sense on both sides.
Awesome. So we're going to include Gustavo's information in our follow-up email to everyone, as well as, I think, Gustavo, there's a referral program. We want to make sure that
Sure.
Airbnb that you sent us.
Yeah. So there is a referral program. There's a link that you know, once you know, for those of you who are interested, will reach out to me. There's a link that I can give you to, so that way you could kind of quote unquote sign up through Airbnb, and it does a little referral program. But I don't want to, I want to say one other thing, and I kind of just slid it in there, but I do find properties that are to that fit that specific criteria. So understanding what your budget is, understanding what you're looking for, then I can help you find those properties.
Awesome. Isn't this great, guys? This
It is.
Fantastic. We're going to have to do part 2. But I thank you again, Gustavo. I appreciate that so much. Before the next speaker comes up, Ken Zorovich, which I'm excited to hear what he has to say. We're going to do another giveaway. Stephanie, what do we have?
We have another $25 Amazon gift card from Ken Zorovich, Priority Lending. And I just say the last one was from Michelle Hossein, C2 Financial, that Donald won.
Awesome. So everybody sees the wheel of fortune here. You got it, Maria? Can you see it?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, so, all right, hold on to your seats, guys. And the next winner is Vince. Woohoo!
Woohoo!
Congratulations, Vince. You have won the gift card from Priority Lending. Let me stop sharing my screen. Okay. So I think, Maria, you're going to reach out to them and let them know the instructions.
Yes. I'm sending the winners a private message.
Okay, great. So I am going to hand it over to Ken Zorovich. He's the Vice President of Priority Lending. He's going to go into more long-term multifamily properties. I've been a friend and partner for many years, I think going on 5 or 6 years or something like that. Time goes quickly. So we're very proud to have you on this panel, Ken. So I'm going to hand it over to you. You're going to want to unmute so that you can, yes, great. Thank you for coming, Ken, and sharing with us today.
Yeah, my pleasure. Can we hear me okay?
Yes.
Sound okay?
Yes.
Awesome. First of all, thank you to the other presenters. I was not expecting it, but I had 2 pages of notes from all the information you guys gave. So awesome stuff. So thank you very much. So Melissa asked me to talk about two specific topics. One is financing for more of your properties that you're going to hold and rent out, maybe similar to what Gustavo was talking about, or multifamily type of properties. And also, too, she wanted me to touch on some commercial financing options if you wanted to get into that space, and how that would work if you wanted to ever invest and rent out commercial space. So let's dive into some of the residential stuff first. So this information is going to be more for properties that maybe don't need that much work. This is not going to be for fix and hold type of stuff that Angelo had mentioned and Michelle and her team had talked about. This is going to be more for properties that have that are livable, is a good way to look at it, that someone could move into and you could start working on right away. So I get asked a lot from clients about ideas on, hey, I want to invest in real estate and I want to do this and that. So here's just some good tips that you want to understand on how to navigate through this on a property. So first and foremost, a great property to ever consider renting, right, would be your existing primary residence, okay? In which case you would go buy another property, okay? And the reason is because at one point in time you acquired this home and you've probably been there for a little while, you've probably built up some equity, and you probably have a very good loan on there, okay? Loans on a primary residence and rates are always much better than on an investment property. So if you have the ability to convert your existing home into an investment property, you could see a higher return than trying to put together the capital to go buy your next one. And then when you buy your primary residence, you can use a loan for a primary residence and you can put less money down. And that could be an easy way to now incorporate a investment property into your portfolio without having to come up with a lot of money, okay? But let's say you love your home and you don't want to get rid of it and you want to go buy that investment property. So there are a couple ways you can do it through traditional financing. And what I love about it is that it really requires the capital to do it because from the qualifying side, you should be okay as long as your income can cover your expenses. Okay, one of the biggest questions I get is, hey, how am I going to afford a new place if I don't have it yet, if I haven't rented it? How does that all work? So one of the loopholes in the conventional underwriting world is that if you go buy a property specifically for investment purposes, you can use the projected rent you would receive from this property to help your ratios qualify, okay? So at the end of the day, as long as your income covers your current expenses, then all you need to have is the money to put down. Now, the minimum on conventional financing is 20% down, but you get much better rates and terms if you can get down to 25 or more. So you always have to go in with a game plan on what your end goal is with this property, because you've got to understand that the more money you put down, the better return you're going to get, or you're going to just be trying to build equity for the length of time that you have the place, right? So, so keep that in mind if you wanted to buy specifically an investment property. Now, one of the things that seems to be a little bit popular right now are the multifamily properties, and rightfully so because of the tactics that Gustavo talked about. And these are properties that can be acquired as a primary residence as long as you or whoever was going to buy them plans on moving into one of the units. And if you do that, if you do the acquisition that way, you can get very, very favorable terms versus flat out buying it as an investment property. So there are options to look at there when you're talking about obtaining some type of multifamily property. Now, let's segue a little bit into commercial real estate. So here's what you want to understand about commercial lending versus residential, okay? A lot of this all changed back in 2008 when the real estate market collapsed and it affected both worlds. And I always explain to people that the biggest difference between residential at that time and commercial is that residential struggled because values had been affected so bad, right? Residential loans, yes, had some different changes they were going through and redoing underwriting guidelines, but they were still trying to put money into the system, even if it was conservative, right? Commercial, which we did for many years, at that point in time, they just shut the faucet off. You could have had a slam dunk deal and you would go to several investors and different banks and they would just be like, thank you, but no thank you. We have no interest. We totally stopped lending, okay? With residential financing, the emphasis is more on you as the borrower, right? What risk levels do you bring? And then, yes, the property is going to play a role, but it's really going to be about your credit, your income, your assets, right? With commercial financing, the property plays a big role in this, okay? So what happens is whenever they review whether it's, say, a multifamily property, now we use that term a lot, but keep in mind, anything that is 4 units or less is residential, okay? Anything that's greater than 4 units is commercial. And so what will happen is, like, say you wanted to buy a 10-unit, apartment complex. Well, the financials of that apartment complex are going to be reviewed to help understand if this property can cash flow for the loan that you want, okay? Now, right now, I would say commercial financing definitely prefers properties that are owner-occupied, meaning if your business is run out of there. Now, if you were going to have something that's a true investment, yes, the multifamily is probably the best one because it has the most historical data. And believe it or not, in commercial financing, a lot of the ways that they view a multi-unit, say, apartment goes back to the days of the Romans when they had these, okay? Because it's the longest reigning data we have on how these properties would work, right? But if you're looking to buy something for your business, then yes, you're going to get better terms and better options. And it goes back to 2008 and 9. What that taught banks and it taught our industry is people will fight for a primary residence. People will fight for something where their business is located. However, if it's an investment, they will cut ties if they have to. And that's why investment financing always is higher priced or has higher terms because of that simple aspect. So if you wanted to get into the commercial space and find a property that you want to identify that you want to rent, what my advice would be is to definitely identify a property for a specific type of business. Don't go into it saying, well, I've got, say, this great, warehouse bay with an office, and this could be for anybody. So let me see what's out there. And commercial becomes very specialized. So if you're going to get into that space, go into it knowing a business you want to target that you think would fit or have their needs met at that particular property. Okay, that's very important to get to understand when you get in that commercial space. Lending for commercial properties can also be very specialized. We have some investors that we can run commercial properties through, but I also will reach out to some colleagues locally at different banks because it can get very specialized where some people only want a specific sector. They might only want retail. They might only want office space. They might only want industrial. So if you want to get into that field, we can set up a time to discuss it, and I'll help you get going in the right direction of wherever you need to find the financing for something like that. So at the end of the day, what I want you to take away from all of this is that for more of the properties you're going to hold, the long-term financing options are the way to go. But for the properties that you're going to rent out for whether it's commercial or residential space, definitely have a plan of who you think can occupy it and how you're going to generate the income off of it, because it's going to be much easier to fill that space when the time comes. This all makes sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Cool. Are there any questions on this?
So Ken, I know that there's some people and we're coming to the end of the seminar now because the time went quickly. So there are some people on this call that are considering like assisted living facilities and multifamily, like you were talking about, apartment complexes. So what type of financing is available for apartment complexes? Do you have any?
Yeah, so you can definitely get traditional commercial loans for that type of stuff. What gets a little bit tricky with the assisted living facilities is that in theory, it is viewed almost as a commercial loan, but you're trying to buy it in a residential space. Mm-hmm. So it gets complicated. I've done a couple before for people, and we had to get very creative to make sure we stayed within residential guidelines and we didn't fall into commercial, because you can't take out a commercial loan on a residential property or a residential loan on a commercial property, right? They've got to stay hand in hand. So there are ways to execute obtaining a home that you would use for those purposes of, say, assisted living facility. But you've got to be extremely careful so you don't violate any of the mortgage laws and thus have your loan call due, because that has happened to a client of mine before that definitely did not follow the rules that are set forth in residential lending. So what we normally do in that situation is we identify the type of property that you want to obtain, make sure that it has the requirements that you need for your business, because you know, you can technically run a business out of a residential property, but it's all about just making sure that it's not being converted in a manner that would now be viewed as a property that's unfinanceable. Because in the effort to convert these properties to meet the needs of your clientele, you may be violating the requirements of residential financing or zoning. And that's usually the biggest challenge, is people have to just be cognizant of that. So it's probably something that is going to take a longer time to discuss. So if people want to dive into that, let me know. We'd be more than happy to set up a time to help you come up with a game plan for that type of acquisition.
Absolutely. So Maria, check and see if we have any questions. And we're gonna, you know, raffle off a few more door prizes. But what I want to tell you, because we weren't able to cover all the topics today, we do have new construction and some other opportunities, such as condo, hotel, new construction, where you can rent back, do Airbnbs, a lot of creative stuff that we're going to have to cover in the next episode of our series. And then also we have some additional information, some examples of some types of properties, whether it's assisted living, some multifamily duplexes. We're going to do another in that series to go over those type of properties. But if you're on this call and you thought about becoming an investor, you want to call us at the office. Just take that first step forward. You want to know how the process goes, what you need to do to get in line to be someone like Angelo, the man, the myth, the legend, or Gustavo doing Airbnb, or many of us that are, you know, moving into the investor circle. Call us on Monday and set up a time so that we can get you started. You're going to want to call us at 954-388-7653. We'll set up an appointment for you, and we'll, you know, start you on that path. Any questions that we have, Maria, left?
Yes, we have one from Dominic. But
Nicole's even blessing us with more time. So if you said that you wanted to ask him a question, he's here still. So throw in those questions. Go ahead, Maria.
We received a question from Dominic, but I think this is more for Gustavo, or I don't know, maybe Angelo can answer. It says, what was the cost of licensing a multifamily property if they aren't the 5 units, as Gustavo mentioned? So I'm assuming he wants to know what the cost is to license the 4 unit and the 6 or more.
Okay, for Airbnb, yeah, we're gonna pass that on to Gustavo so that he can answer that question for you and make sure that we get back to you with that. And we'll provide the answer in our follow-up email as well. Any other questions before we do a drawing, and then we're gonna wrap this up?
We did have a question from Dominic earlier, asking when, also it would be good to know when to buy, sell, or rent the properties. I guess when is a good time?
Mm-hmm. When is a good time to buy? Now.
Buy, sell, or rent the properties.
I'm thinking that they're referring to like seasonality. Like, we don't really have that here in Florida. Pretty much any time is a good time to buy. There's a lot of good opportunities right now, and we're expecting a lot more in the coming months. So the first step is to really, you know, set up the appointment so that we can kind of structure it based on what you're looking for, what you're looking to do, and guide you on what's the best timeline to work with. So, you know, give us a call and we'll set up an appointment on that. Any other questions?
Nope, no more questions.
Okay, awesome. So we're gonna go ahead. Stephanie, what giveaways do we have now?
This one is a $25 Lowe's gift card from Mark Bookstein.
From Mark Bookstein. So we're gonna spin the wheel here. And the winner is, oh, April. Woo!
Congratulations, April.
Congratulations, April. And do we have anything else, Stephanie?
We have 2 more prizes.
More. Okay, so we're gonna spin the wheel again.
Okay, $25 gift card to Amazon from Michelle Hossein, C2 Financial.
Allison, congratulations. Woo-hoo.
Congratulations.
And we have another $25 Amazon gift card from Ken Zorovich.
From Ken Zorovich. Okay, at Priority Lending. This is the final one, guys. And the winner is Arsenio. Woo! Arsenio is our resident pool company guy. So anybody need a pool guy, Arsenio is the one. So we just want to thank everyone again, thank our panelists, thank all of our attendees for coming by today. We appreciate our panelists so much for sharing with us. We have such great partners that we work with. And we just want to say thank you again for sharing on a Saturday morning. And anybody needs us, give us a call. And like I said, look out for our follow-up email with information. Angelo's website is bankonit.com. And we're going to also include Michelle Hossein and Ken Zorovich information. So thank you again, guys, and have a great weekend.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye, y'all.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.